going on?" Hannah asked, still sounding faint with shock.
"Ma'am, you're blocking traffic,"
the officer grumbled, though there wasn't another vehicle in sight. Hannah swung her car into the driveway of the Willmett's house, got out, and hurried over just as Officer Grady finished writing out the citation and passed the pad to Derek for his signature.
"Have a nice day,"
the officer said as he handed Derek his copy.
"Yeah, right."
Derek tossed aside the piece of paper as soon as the officer had walked back to his cruiser. Hannah leaned in at the driver's window, her eyes wide with disbelief. "Oh my God, it really is you."
"Looks like it."
His nerves were jumping all over the place as he got out of his SUV. She clapped a hand to her cheek. "Oh, wow. I can't believe it." Her bright gaze darted over him. "You look so different. So grown up." He was 24. He sure hoped he'd grown up, but seeing Hannah for the first time in 6 years, he suddenly felt like the gangly, monosyllabic teenager he'd once been around her. The first time he'd met Hannah, she'd breezed into the kitchen like spring sunshine, wisps of dark blonde hair escaping from her ponytail, fresh face and glowing. She'd opened the oven and pulled out a freshly baked pecan pie, as if by magic, and just like that, he was a goner. At 19, she was 5 years his senior, in charge of the Willmett household that consisted of Frank, her divorced dad, Caleb, and Grandpa Joe, and dating a pre-med student while holding down a job as a nursing assistant. She was way out of his league, but that hadn't stopped him from crushing hard on her, a crush he'd kept buried all these years. He cleared his throat. "Thanks, I think." She laughed. "I meant it as a compliment, silly." She peered at him more closely and tapped her chin. "Wow, that's some serious designer stubble you've got going there. Or are you trying to grow a beard?"
Trying to grow a beard? Geez, she sure knew how to make him feel 14 again.
He stuck out his chest.
"Hey, this stuff sprouts out every day like ragweed. It's tough keeping it under control."
She smiled, her eyes radiant. "Well, it's great seeing you again." He drank in her smile. They could have met in better circumstances, but she was here, not thousands of miles away. For the life of him, he couldn't stop staring at her. It appeared the secret crush he'd had for her had never died, only grown stronger. "You look good." She shrugged, self-deprecating as always. "So, what's with the police pulling you over?" He ran his fingers through his hair, reluctant to tell her.
I ran a stop sign. I was kind of preoccupied."
"I didn't realize you were back in Pine Falls."
"Just got in this afternoon. My granddad broke his leg last week and refuses to go to a rehab center, so I'm here to check up on him."
"Sorry to hear that." Crossing her arms, she studied him for a moment. "Knowing Otto, I suppose he didn't like you trying to help. Is that why you took a drive and didn't notice the stop sign?" He nodded. No need to explain his grandfather to Hannah. He'd never talked about his granddad or his home life to anyone, not even to someone as sympathetic as Hannah, and she'd never tried to pry. She just let him be and treated him as part of the family, which was all he'd wanted. "Do you want to come inside?" she asked. "You know my dad remarried, don't you? He and Rosalind are away on vacation, so I'm all on my own here."
"Yeah, sure," he said quickly, trying not to sound too eager.
As Derek followed Hannah inside, he reflected that she sounded lonely about being in the house by herself.
Well, if she wanted company tonight, he was more than happy to oblige.
She led him into the large, old-fashioned kitchen, where he automatically parked himself at the familiar pine table.
This was where he'd spent a large amount of his teenage years, both he and Caleb wolfing down the food Hannah prepared for them.
She washed her hands at the sink, then headed for the refrigerator. "I'm making myself a turkey sandwich," she said. "Want one too?" He hadn't eaten since midday. His grandfather's antics had irritated his appetite away, but now he was starving.
"That'd be great."
He rose to his feet.
"But let me help you."
She blinked up at him. Now that he was 6'3" and 180 pounds, Hannah seemed smaller and fragile, and he felt like a lumbering giant next to her. That's okay," she said. "You sit down. It won't take me long to put 2 sandwiches together." He reseated himself. At least sitting at the table gave him an opportunity to study her freely. She'd definitely lost a few pounds. Her loose-fitting lavender